How you doing? Well, last time on Manly Monday, my son Drew started interviewing me. In that first half, he got deep. Well, now it's time for the second half, and it only gets deeper. Next, Manly Monday, Samuel Tolley being interviewed by his son, Drew Tolley. Are you God's man? Are you a saved man? Weren't you called to righteousness and holiness? It's time to step up. All of God's men must step up. We've laid back for far too long. We've avoided the fight. Now the enemy is strong. The sidelines, they are gone. And the battle lines have been drawn. This is a battle that starts on our knees or on our face if he's so pleased. God didn't call women to lead. Men he called to take a stand. To stand for our families, to stand for our land. Many called to illuminate the way. Darkness must flee in the light of day. Men dedicated to him and him alone. Men who garner strength from his mighty throne. Oh, my brothers, it's time to stand. And when we stand, it won't be alone.
It was more. So by the time you got to your 30s is when that stuff started to become important to you.
Well, it started becoming important to me when I knew I had to get back to God. Because the life that I was living, the things that I was doing was something was wrong with it. It wasn't godly. I knew I wasn't living a godly life. And once I started thinking about living a godly life, I started thinking about what I need to do. But I started thinking like the Democratic Party in them days was for abortion. The Democratic Party was for legalizing marijuana and stuff. The Democratic Party, from what I could see, the party that I'm supposed to be a part of was for things that to me seemed like they were against God. And I was trying to figure it out. And I was thinking, well, these are the things that, I'm a part of. But if I want to live for God, can I be a part of God and still be thinking about these things?
So it was your relationship coming back to God that started pushing you more towards becoming a Republican.
It wasn't so much pushing me toward becoming a Republican. It was pushing me toward wanting to find out how am I supposed to live right. Mm-hmm. And what would push me toward coming back to a Republican was trying to figure out, why am I a Democrat? And when the Challenger blew up, I listened to President Reagan's speech about it. And see, in those days, well, just like these days, you're a Republican, you're the devil, they're evil, And when I listened to his speech, I said, golly, this man don't sound like the monster they claim he is. I said, I don't understand. He just doesn't seem that way. And so then that made me want to start investigating. There was no internet. I had to investigate, going to the library.
So when you're going through your 20s, you're messing up or you're doing whatever you're doing, and now you're getting towards your 30s and you're starting to want to investigate, what is it that started to bring your life full circle back to wanting to know God? Like, what brought you back?
Well, the thing was this. Um, I believe, like a lot of people believe, that if I serve God, I'm not going to be able to have fun anymore.
Hmm.
I know people that believe that right now. I thought, you know what? But it was bothering me. I was having a problem. I remember one day hanging out with friends, and we were drinking and smoking weed and stuff. And then I started talking about the Bible, and the conversation just went really bad. And I realized intuitively, I said, I should never have done this. I can't talk about the Bible and people in these circumstances. This is no good. And I started having this conflict. Yes, I like to get high. I like to smoke weed. I like to do all this. I got this urging to get with God. And so I made a decision. I decided that I wanted to serve God more than have fun. So I
Hmm.
made up my mind that I really wanted to serve God. And I thought that if I served him, I was never going to have fun anymore.
How did that decision? Because that's a pivotal decision. It seems like that's a pivotal. That's going to change the trajectory of your life. You're saying, I don't want to have fun no more. I'm going to serve God instead of having fun at that particular period of time. How
Mm.
did that decision, when you actually committed to it, affect your relationship with close family and friends that may have not been on the same path as you?
Whew. Well, it wasn't as simple as me making that decision or having that thought process. There was a process that I had to go through. And I'm not saying this is for everybody or everybody could do it, but this is what happened to me. I I used to live. I could walk to work in Pasadena from where I lived, um, and I used to like to smoke a joint on my way to work. You know, used to get high. I was high. So anyway, I'm walking down the street smoking this joint, and in those days I used to drink slits. They don't sell them those slits in the bottle. So here I am talking about, well, to myself. And I say, I don't know, Lord, I need to quit something. Maybe I need to stop smoking this weed and keep drinking the slits. Maybe I need to quit drinking the slits. No, I need to stop smoking weed and keep drinking the slits. Or maybe I need to quit drinking the slits and just
Start
smoke
smoking the
weed.
weed.
So I'm having this weird conversation as I'm smoking weed walking down the street. So then I just said, you know what, Lord? I want you to take the taste of everything out of my mouth. And I went on and finished my joint, went on to work, did whatever I'm doing. And I can't give you a day, a time, a time span, but I know I was still having this conflict between doing all this stuff and then wanting to read the Bible or serve God. So one night, this is when I was still married to Bubba's mother. It was me and her and Cub. I was on an apartment on Catalina. I remember distinctly. I'm sitting down under the coffee table. I got my shoebox with weed in it. I got a 6-pack of Budweiser. I got a Presidente, and we're sitting there watching Casablanca on TV. And I'm blasted. And we're all blasted, pretty much. And as I'm sitting there, it was like the Spirit of the Lord within me said, okay, do you still want me to take the taste of everything out your mouth? And I said within myself, yes, do it. Um, Now, nothing happened to me right then, and like I had this big sobering moment.
Yeah.
No, I'm still just as messed up as I was before I felt that. And we went on with whatever was happening that night. Anyway, the next morning, I told Charlotte, but with mom, I said, it's gone. She said, what gone? I said, everything, taste, gone. I don't get high no more. I don't drink. I don't smoke, nothing. Well, they thought I was tripping real hard.
Yeah.
Everybody thought I was tripping, but I was serious. And so then after the next day, I didn't want none. After a while, people start wondering, wait a minute, this is kind of weird. But he actually took the total desire for tobacco, weed, alcohol, any of that stuff. It was just, I mean, I didn't go through no withdrawals. I didn't have no pains. I didn't have nothing. I didn't have any desire for any of that stuff. And to answer your question, my relationship with a whole lot of folks got bad real quick.
Hmm.
One of the problems was mine because I was telling Charlotte, I said, you know what? I don't want any more weed in this house. I don't want any more alcohol. I don't want none of that. And see, I wasn't being sympathetic to her um, because I was done, but she wasn't done. She
Hmm.
was nowhere near being done. Uh, and her life, she never got done, basically. And so then, some of my friends that I would hang out with, they didn't want to hang out with me anymore, because of I didn't do. You know, some friends to the day don't want to hang out with me because I wasn't doing those things that we used to do. But what I found out down the line, and then what I found out made me angry, and I was angry for a very long time. I was angry at myself because I found out that I never had as much fun as I've had since I surrendered my life to the Lord. All that time when I used to get high, chase women, do all this other stuff, I thought I wasn't, that was fun. And I thought I wasn't going to have fun no more. But once I surrendered to Him, once I let all that stuff go, once I just gave it to Him, then I found out what real joy was, what real fun was. And for a long time, I was bitter at me because I wasted so many years chasing after an illusion.
Wow.
Yep.
So those friends that some of them you still have in your life right now, they stopped. That relationship got worse. Did you just replace them, or did you
Well,
kind of did that same mindset of like, well, if you don't like my car, then I'm going. You don't like me. Was it the same? Was it the same mindset?
well, most of them are gone. No, I don't want to say. I mean, me and Cub always stayed friends. You know that.
Hmm.
We stayed friends. Me and Gregory, we're still friends. Hermie's gone. Arthur's gone. Uh, some people went different routes. Um, I used to hang out with some of the people I used to hang out with. We just don't hang out with anymore. And obviously, I don't even live in the same town. I haven't lived in the same town in 30, 40 years. But, it's just that some people, you make them uncomfortable,
Hmm.
you know. So, and I'm not going to sit around with folks doing stuff if that's what they want to do. So, you know, but I'm good.
So you make it. All right. Well, now we go from you being in your 20s, you go through all the stuff, God takes the taste out of your mouth. You've already had a child by this time. You had Shalon, I believe, and Bubba, right?
Yeah.
So you already had children by this point. And are you now, I guess, father and all? Was it Bubba, Papa, and Shalon at the same time? Or how is that dynamic?
I don't understand the
Like,
question.
were they all in the same place, or were they in different places? Like, how was that?
Well, Shalon lived with her mother. She never lived with me. I would see her all the time. We had a relationship. Uh, as long as I was with Bubba's mother, and Papa was with me. So we were always together while we were together.
And then was there, because I'm, as you know, I'm a stepfather, right?
Mm.
I have two step sons, and then you have my daughter, and now you also were a stepfather, and a lot of the things that I had mirrored within the relationship, as far as my relationships with one Siobhan, and then also with Kayla that I'm with now, I found that I had mirrored things that I learned from you was
Okay.
I had heard a person talk about becoming a stepfather, that it was something that was looked up to back in the day in the 60s and 70s, as this man took on another man's responsibility to 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 help that family. But then, in our time now, it's not looked up to. It almost looked at as like a negative. You're not looked
Really?
up. Yeah, you looked at it as they call it like a simp, or you looked at it as somebody that is um not you're not looked up as like a person of value. You look down upon when you're a stepdad, because it's like, oh, you have to take over care of somebody else's dad, or somebody else's son, somebody else's daughter. Well, you could have had your own. But they stepped out and you did it like a simp, so you taking care of their stuff. It's like it's looked at as a negative thing now.
Wow.
So when you stepped in, was it true that it was looked at as like, man, you thank you for stepping in and being a stepfather for someone else's child that's not yours? Is that a true statement that I'm hearing, or is that just something I'm just hearing? It's
I don't recall it being an issue either way. Um, I don't recall it being anything. Definitely don't remember nothing of being negative. Uh,
really.
I mean, Papa's biological father was in Philadelphia someplace. I never met him, but Mama, the old man, nobody ever treated him any different than anybody else. So I don't believe in, no, for me, I try to treat the kids the same. I don't want nobody to feel like, oh, well, you're on this tier, but hey, you down here, you know, that's no good, so
So with you growing up the way that you grew up within the home with your dad's not there,
yeah.
who did you mirror or model your parenting style after? Like what was it that you were saying like to yourself, I'm going to parent this way because I seen this man or that man? Or did you just kind of make it up as you go?
Made it up as I go.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't have nobody to mirror nothing else. I mean, I knew, okay, I knew what not to do. You know, if the
Yeah.
kids want to play sports, okay, support them. Get them their equipment. Don't give them no garbage.
Mm.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff like we talked about different stuff that you could have used or running. I didn't know nothing about that stuff, but I'm not gonna. I never, I wasn't gonna give you guys garbage. I was gonna make sure you had whatever it is you needed. If it means sitting out there in the cold to support them, sit out there in the cold to support them. you know,
Yeah.
whether it's at night, whether it's in Vegas and it's freezing, whatever, or you have to go way up there in the hill to China Lake or all this garbage. I knew what not to do. I knew, to me, the most important thing was to be there. You know, that I knew. I knew I had to be there. And I knew that no matter what um, I may have been going through, or I mean, your mother, or whatever, as far as family, finances, and all this other kind of crap, don't bring that to the kids, and to make sure that they got what they need to take care of their day to day. So
Yeah.
my if you want to talk about my style was to avoid the stuff that I knew hurt me. Yeah.
So you mom had talked about when she was working at Bank of America that she had a lot of good managers and she had a lot of bad managers. And she said that she would learn a ton more from the bad managers than the good managers because they told her what not to do.
Hmm.
So, in your experience, since you had some bad that you could be able to say, all right, you know what, I know not to do that. I'm gonna do this one. So then, me growing up, I can see these games in Tehachapi, these games in Rosamond, and
Yeah.
these baseball games out there in the cold when it was raining. and all this different stuff, and you guys being out there. There was never a time where I went to a game and one or not both of you wasn't there, you
Yeah.
know. And so I appreciate that. And hearing how you grew up and then how you took that information is almost like, you have those people that say, "Oh man, you know what? Oh man, I drink because my daddy drinks. You
Mm.
know, I'm a criminal because my daddy's a criminal." And that's how, my mom was a criminal. That's the reason why. And they have this thing is, because I grew up that way, I'm that way. But
Yeah.
you took it like, because I grew up that way, I don't want the people that I love to have to go through what I went through because I know how it feels.
Well, I remember, I don't know if it was, probably was Bubba or somebody, I don't know, somebody was cussing one day or something, and I would say, "Where'd that come from?"
Mm,
Because I know you ain't heard me talking like that. So where'd that come from? So yeah, there's a lot that you learn, and as I'm sure you learn it, as you go. But
yeah,
when you see mistakes, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I could have did better as a parent. You know, I realize, particularly like on the theological end and stuff, there's a lot of stuff I could have did better. But you can't go back and do. There's no do overs. you know,
yeah,
Once it's over, it's over. You do what you can do, and you hope that what you did was enough, and then it can make up the difference. But no, I just try to avoid uh, the mistakes that I had to live through. So if I can avoid some of them, I'm sure I made some, but at least I will, try to avoid the ones that I know I could avoid.
yeah. Before I kind of move on to the next subject, was there, with you doing this and you being intentional with not wanting to do the same mistakes that you grew up with, was there something that you wanted your kids to do? Like, did you want them to leave some type of legacy? Did you want them to become successful in a particular subject? Or did you just what did you want from the kids? What was your expectation on them?
To be self-sufficient, to be able to take care of yourself, to understand that the day was going to come when I wasn't going to be there. Uh, so you can take care of you don't be dependent on the government, dependent on, different folks that you can take care of yourself. Now whatever your dream was, that's up to the individual. But what I wanted folks to be self-sufficient, and of course, as far as family, I want them to be able to um, be there for their kids.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Well, then now those were big for me to be able to know why you ended up parenting and being the way that you were. Because I mean, I remember you would go from Lake LA all the way down the hill and come back up the hill every single day for years. And some days I would see that you'd be, stressed out of your mind, but still try to make some time for us. You know, how did you handle the home, that being a husband, then and trying to be the leader of the family, having a wife and trying to be the leader of her, and then having the kids and trying to stay in their life? How did you balance all that stuff together? Like, how did you work that teeter tot?
Great to God, just it went on the fly. I mean,
You was building the plane in the air.
huh?
You were building the plane in the air.
It was just, yeah, it was just, we, I, yeah, it was just trying to make it happen.
So this stuff wasn't really like, oh, I got to do this. I got to. It's just you just doing it. You were just doing it.
Pretty much.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I know we're about to wrap it up.
Well, we either A, gonna cut some or make it in a part, and well, we're gonna have to cut some. I'm already 7 minutes over, so
Okay.
it's either I can always make it a part two.
What you want to do? We can. We can.
That's
We
up to
can.
you. We get here and I can just, this is part one, this is part two. So they ain't gotta be a whole like it's over an hour now. It could be an hour and a half, and I just make it a 45-minute, part one, part two, or whatever. So if you got some more stuff, well, you got it. Give you another 30.
Another 30. Yeah. Yeah. We can go.
All right.
All right. So all right. So now we got to the point to where um your 30s. You're in your 30s now. Turned. I'm leaving pretty soon to meet a mom, right? So first of all, I guess how did you guys meet? Yeah, how did you even meet mom? How did that even work out?
Um, well, I met her through your through Beverly. She worked at the bank where Beverly worked, and so Beverly said, I guess she told me or something that I sounded like her friend, or told her friend sounded like me, so I went over there to meet her.
And so you guys eventually, meet, talk, get married, right? All that stuff, right? Um, was there a decision when you got married where you said, well, we're never gonna get divorced? This is not happen. No matter what we're doing, we're gonna always go through. Or was it more of like a thing where you're like, you know what, we're gonna take this 1 year at a time, and we don't know if
No,
we're
it
gonna get
was a
divorced.
no. We wasn't going. It was a. It was. It was a. It was. It's going. It was like what it was. To death do you part.
And that was for both of you guys.
Yeah.
And so, do you know how when in the Bible it says when you find a wife, you find a good thing?
Yeah.
Did you know from the beginning that you found a good thing, or did it take a while for you to find out that you found a good thing?
No, I knew.
Okay. And was there a challenge bringing the families together?
What's family? You mean you kids?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not you. Well, I always looked at it as like it was a quilt, and you were the glue.
I was the glue for the
Right.
quilt. Okay.
Because you had the Bubba Papa, and then Papa left, and then it was you, Bubba and Jessica, and then you. So obviously, Jessica came from her side, Bubba came from my side, and you came from both sides. So I was that was my mindset. It was like a quilt, and you were the glue.
Was it difficult trying to figure all those things out and keep them together, or was it just pretty easy once you got the quilt together?
No, no. I mean, like I said, I always treat everybody the same. I mean, when I say treat everybody the same, I didn't have preferences on people, but everybody was an individual. You
Yeah.
had your own idiosyncrasies. Bubba had his, and so did Jessica. So,
Yeah. I
so
asked because on my side, I'm working with multiple families, right? And so it's not just my family that's getting together, it's another family and another, and then the other family, trying to figure out how to be able to work with all this ecosystem
well,
of
I had
people.
to work with Jessica. Well, I didn't have to work with her, but your mother had to work with Jessica's father for a while. But then he pretty much took himself out of the picture. So once he took himself out of the picture, I didn't have to deal with it. As far as your grandparents is concerned, they had their concerns about me at first. I think it was more of your grandfather, but he didn't know me. And, he was used to people that were subservient to him. And he found out very quickly two things. I wasn't going to be subservient to him, but I was going to be loyal to his daughter.
Mm.
So I think after a while, he got to respect me. They seen that I was a real person, but I wasn't gonna be playing soft. I mean, I wasn't disrespecting them or nothing or him, but everybody else, I sort of made him, I don't know, the big man or something. I mean, I didn't disrespect him or nothing, but
Yeah.
for the most part, we got along.
So now you got this family cohesion quilted together. when did you? And I'm assuming by this time, you're getting close to what, your 40s, something around there.
You're just throwing stuff out there, but okay, let's see.
Okay, so I'm thinking that you're around your 40s, or you're getting close to your 40, yeah, somewhere around there. You got the house, you got everybody together. Now, I'm trying to figure out, when did you start kind of heading towards, because you said, because in the early 30s, you had the whole Democrat thing where I'm a Democrat. I don't know why I'm a Democrat. I'm just a Democrat. And then you're like, well, this dude on this TV screen is speaking. He don't sound like he's an idiot. He sounds like he's somebody that is reasonable. But now I'm married. I got my family. Now I'm more getting closer to God. I'm trying to figure out, when was the transition to, man, you know what? I think I want to go into the Republican and become a Republican and start speaking that, because I don't think that these other
No,
people.
I changed before I got married to your mother.
Okay, talk about that.
It was probably around 85 or so. 86, like I said, whenever that Challenger explosion, whenever that was, at the tail end of the Reagan administration, is around when I changed. Once I started, once like I said, when I listened to Reagan's speech, and I said, this guy don't seem like the monsters here. See, in them days, I used to believe the news media. I used to believe what they said. I believe, I used to get an Independent Star News newspaper every day. And sometimes I'd get the LA Times. When I read the newspaper, if it said bang, 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 I said, oh, that's the news. That's the truth. I listened to Jerry Dunphy or Walter Cronkite or all these different people on the news. Oh, that's the news. That's the truth. So I believed the newspaper. I believed the TV reporters. I believed all this stuff was real. And somewhere along the line, I was told that black people, that the Republican Party was a party of the Ku Klux Klan and Jim Crow and all this stuff. I just accepted that as reality because everybody was saying that, or a lot of, not everybody, but the people would let us believe that. But once I looked at the situation with Ronald Reagan, once I saw his speech on after that explosion, and that desire to understand why is the Democratic Party for this stuff, and I'm supposed to be for the Democratic Party, and why is the Republican Party supposed to be evil? I knew I had to deal with political issues because I wanted to be an informed citizen at that point in time, and I knew part of being an informed citizen is a vote. So I started going to the library and looking up history. Look up the history of Jim Crow, of the civil rights movement, of the Klan, of all this stuff, and I found out that all that stuff was Democrats. That the Democrats was the party of the Klan. The Democrats was the party of Jim Crow. The Democrat and Woodrow Wilson resegregated the federal government. I found out all these things, and it started blowing my mind that Abraham Lincoln and the Republican Party was a party of abolition, the party of the free and the slaves, and I was shocked. And so once I was shocked and found out all this stuff, I said, wow, I've been lied to all these years. And then I wanted to tell people, I wanted to share it with people. And I started trying to share it with people, with my friends and stuff. And what blew my mind was I started running into a brick wall.
What do you mean?
They didn't want to hear it.
Well, when you would tell them, what would they say, or would they not say anything?
The first thing is that they didn't believe it. And see, the way it went was like this. For a long time, black people that I would know and stuff, they didn't believe it. Yeah, it was the Republicans. Well, they still believe the Republicans are racist. And they say Democrats love black people. Democrats care for black people. This was the mantra. This was the thought. If you're black, you vote the straight Democrat line. And once I started telling people that it was for Jim Crow, that Jim Crow was from the Democrat Party and all this other stuff, after a while, not just me, but people would tell folks stuff. And after a while, it got to the point where they couldn't deny the evidence. So then the next greatest thing they did was said, yeah, that was true, but they all switched sides.
When Richard Nixon was president, it was true, but then they switched sides to the Democratic side.
Yeah, the Republicans went to the Democrats, and the Democrats went to the Republicans. And so they had, it was the Southern strategy or some mess, they said. And this is what they would say. So I'm saying, are you meaning to tell me that Republicans were the winners and they decided to become the losers? The Republican Party was the party of Lincoln that freed the slaves of, and now they want to be the party of the Ku Klux Klan. That even
Mm.
these segregation racist Klansmen and Ku Klux Klexers and all these, now they all of a sudden want to be Republicans? Are you mean to tell me that these folks wanted to play musical chairs? See, and people would buy that stuff. But it was a lie. It was a lie to help keep people in place. And to this day, now when I talk to many of the Democrat friends that I have that still talk to me, they don't go around saying, "Oh, the Democrats love black people no more." Now they'll say stuff like, "Well, both parties are bad."
Mm.
And then their attitudes like, "Well, we know this devil, so we might as well stick with the one we know instead of go to the one we don't know."
We
So
know this devil.
I guess to a degree, we're making a little progress.
So when did you start? Because I mean, ever since I've known you, you were in politics.
Yeah.
You know, ever since I was able to, you would have something playing in the kitchen. It'd be loud. You'd be listening to some talking head on the TV, and this was been your, you know, this was what I knew about you.
Yeah.
And when did you?
Because I
When
wanted
did
to
you?
wake black people up. I
From the
was sick of it.
So it was early. As soon as you found the information, you started to tell people like, "Hey, this is the wrong. You're getting the wrong stuff."
Right. Right.
But you've always getting the same wall that you're hitting.
There's leaks in the wall. There's people that's been changed. I mean, I can't confess to inspiring a lot of change. I know a few people that have changed after listening to myself, but there's a lot of folks out there now that is not. And see, they would try to shame you. They would try to make, "Oh, you're Uncle Tom. You're a coon. You're a sellout." You know, they try to make you feel like you're awful. And see, one of the best things that happened to black folks is this 4 year this Biden administration. This is one of the greatest things that happened to black folks because and see, the news media is so corrupt. They were sitting out here talking about how mentally incompetent Trump is and how he's going to lead us into World War III and how he's going to ruin everything. But we had the greatest economy in my lifetime when he was president, and a lot of black folks made money. But once Biden came in here, you know what, gas is, past $7 a gallon in California. I mean, it costs half of your child just to get a loaf of bread these days. Everything is through the roof. It wasn't like this when Trump was in the office. And then you get this guy, Biden, talking about, well, if you don't know the difference between me and Trump, you ain't black, and all this other racist stuff that he does. And these Democrats say nothing. But these folks can see what's happening. And then he lets, the news media was screaming at Trump because he wanted to fix the wall. And now Biden let in 7 to 20 million illegal aliens. And then what? Now all of a sudden Biden wants to put up some wall. Mm-hmm. And see, the only reason why he wants to put up walls because these Democratic states is screaming because in New York and Chicago they can't take care of all this crap. So unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are stuck on pride, and they're too proud to want to admit, hey, you know what? Maybe I was wrong about this. See, when I found out that the Democratic Party wasn't what I thought the Democratic Party was or what I was told the Democratic Party was, I would tell people right away. And I didn't care. I mean, my attitude is I don't want to get screwed. And I'm not going to sit over here and pretend like I ain't getting screwed if I'm getting screwed. And I want to let people know.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
So yeah, if you felt like you were getting screwed, you want to say, hey, I want to stop everybody else from being able to get screwed. And even if they know they're getting screwed, at least you got the chance to tell them.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Is this the reason why you continue with trying to reach out to the community within YouTube or within whatever space? I mean, in 2013, I think it was 2013, That's when you had wrote your book, Enemy of Christ. That seemed like another way of you trying to reach people.
Yeah,
So is this
well,
the reason why
anyway,
you're reaching people?
right. Well, that was more of a theological frame book that didn't necessarily go towards Democrats. But when I first went online, social media, should I say, in 2011, and I made a decision when I was going to go on social media before I did it, because I would see people post stuff like, I had a nice fried chicken dinner today, or somebody say, yeah, I had a good bowels move. I mean, some stuff that's kind of okay, too
Yeah.
much information. So I said, I'm gonna try my best to post scripture daily if I can. I haven't been successful. I do it a lot, but I miss some. But I want to post scripture and I want to tell the truth. And so I've been posting scripture since 2011, and I've been telling about the differences between the political parties and the fact that trying to hopefully help Black people wake up. And see, people get this weird thought. Oh, he wants to be. I don't care if you're a Republican or not. That's not important to me. What's important to me is, number one, that you know the truth, and number two, that you don't be voting for folks whose positions are antithetical to God. If you serve him, then follow him. Even if you want to stay in the Democrat Party, you make sure you get those jokers out of there that are against God. So and people say, oh, he's a Trump cultist or some mess. If Trump turns, and points out that does something that's totally antithetical to God, I get rid of Trump too. My thing is this: if I have two people to vote for, I want to vote for the person or the party or the position that is closer to a biblical worldview than the one that ain't. And in these days, the stuff is getting real simple. When you got folks that want to teach you about, or say that a boy could be a girl and a girl could be a boy, then they're cutting off children's genitals and mutilating them and all this kind of nonsense. And the
Yeah.
Democratic Party is pushing that. I don't understand how anybody could be in favor of that.
Yeah, I've heard that it's basically saying that the Democratic Party is pushing the insane and the Republican Party is pushing the sane. That's it, but I think the challenge between the Democratic Party and the Republican Party is the Democratic Party will play ball when it comes to politics. Anything goes for them. They'll play as dirty as you want. And on the Republican Party, they won't. And then the Democratic Party has more lines of communication that they'll play ball with than the Republican Party. So it doesn't really matter. It's one of those things in marketing where they say something where it doesn't matter if it's good news or bad news, as long as you're talking about me, it's a good thing for me. And that's kind of what the Democratic Party does.
Well, the Democratic Party, from where I see it, is no matter how evil the position is, they will stay together 100%.
Well,
They
it seems like they'll do that, or else they'll
Yeah,
cut you out. Because when
yeah.
you go
Oh yeah,
against
they'll cut
somebody,
you out. Yeah,
they'll
yeah,
cut
yeah,
you.
yeah. They'll make you gotta go.
You'll be an example.
So yeah, so yeah, they'll stay together, and the Republican Party is fighting amongst themselves. So I'll give the Democratic Party credit in the fact that they stick together.
So I know we're about to wrap it up soon, but there's a couple questions. Since you've been on this earth for 70,
Mm.
what do you know? What do you see that's different about the America that you see maybe back in the 60s, 70s compared to the America that you see now?
When I was a little kid, you used to ride up and down. We used to live on a street called Pepper Street, and you could ride up and down the street, and don't worry about it. Don't worry about the kids. Kids could play down the street. Number one, kids used to play in the dirt when I was a kid. Now I rarely see kids out in the street playing. I got a couple of kids down the street that I was surprised they were playing hide and seek. That's a phenomenon these days to me, because most kids are so tapped up in their computer stuff. But kids could play. We didn't have to worry about nothing. At the same time, if a kid act like a fool down the street, they might get a whooping down the street, sent home, and by the time they get home, the parents have got a phone call where they're going to take care of when they get there. So there was a lot more respect when I was a kid, that I can recall than what there is now. There was never no confusion about what you were. There was no such thing as, well, he was assigned as a male as a child. There was none of this kind of stuff. When I was a kid, I used to trust the medical, um,
Like the pharmaceutical industry.
the medical, the pharmaceutical medical industry. I used to believe what the doctor says. I thought the doctor we used to have. Matter of fact, they even had house calls in those days. I remember Dr. Holmes. There was one doctor. I don't know if I thought his name was Dr. Holmes, Homes. Well, it's probably Holmes or something. But he'd come
Yeah.
with a little black bag and check you out and stuff at your house, and they took care of you. But see now, like you, I'd be scared to death of my kids, even taking them to go get injections. What are you trying to shoot up in them? You know. Uh,
Yeah.
so I used to trust vaccinations. I used to trust the medical industry, even when you guys were kids. I wasn't worried about that kind of stuff. These days, I don't even trust my own self. I got to think when I'm going to be talking to my doctor when I go in there. We're going to have a big discussion because of medication I decided I didn't want to take. So there's a lot. There was more trust then. There was a more even though we had crap and we had problems as a society. I think the society is more cohesive then. I, than it is now. And what is strange to me, and since I was a child, I didn't understand this, but when I look back at it historically, as far as the black family was concerned, the black family was in much better shape than before the civil rights era.
Mm.
And people like to hearken to, well, we had the civil rights era, 1965, 64. Yeah, we got the Voting Rights Act. We got the Housing Act. But what happened to the family? The family got destroyed. you know, and the society as a whole got changed from the dynamic. Like I said, when I was a kid, when I said that there was families, at least 7 kids, 7 to 9 kids. Some people had 12, 13, but I'm talking about the average 7 to 9. Now, maybe two.
If that.
Yeah, maybe,
If that.
and the mother could stay home. And I'm talking about the families that had the father and mother. The mother could stay home, and dad would make enough money to take care of the family.
It's not
Now,
like that no more.
even when you was a child, both of us worked.
It's not even, it's nowhere close to that. When I went into dating again after my divorce, and I went into dating, most of the women that I met, if they were in their 20s, they didn't want anything serious until they went into their 30s. It's not like they wanted that. Most women nowadays, they don't want to have a child in there from 18 to 30. They want to start having
Mm.
children at 35. They
Wow.
want they don't want a serious husband or a serious boyfriend in their 20s. They want to have that at 33, 34, 35, because they feel like they want to go to their, get a degree first and then get this job and making sure their career is on. And I don't know where that mindset came from, but they don't believe in that the husband or the man is really important until they want a baby. And then once they have the baby, and once they have the baby, the husband can be thrown out. And that's what I found as a mindset. So I remember when I was looking for a wife the whole time. So when I was looking for a wife, um, one of the biggest things that I saw was I had everybody that I had dated from a teen's year, because I didn't really have any navigational system, because I never really asked you about dating. That was kind of a secretive thing. It was one of those things you don't. It was kind of like you stay in a child's place and you kind of keep the child stuff away from the parents because that's not their business. So maybe that's on our interview. I don't know. The reverse side, so you can see the opposite side of how we thought. But
Mm.
um, from a teenager all the way until Siobhan, every person that I had dated didn't have a dad.
Mm.
All of them. none of them. And I had found out that that was a me thing. Remember, Bubba talked to me about Keisha and said something like, it ain't her, it's you. But it was, I kept picking the same person over and over and over again. This person that needed me, that didn't have a father. So one of the guidelines that I had put for myself when I was looking for a wife this next time was I wanted a person that had a mom and a dad at home like I did. And when I found Kayla, that was a completely different person than these other people that I had dated. Had a different mindset, was looking more so wanting a family instead of not just wanting to be out in the streets and wanting to be this big person that everybody viewed as, spectacular. And
Right.
so I brought that up because it seems as though this shift of having 9 kids, that's a relic now. You're not
Yeah.
doing that no more.
Oh, now that would be something people would.
Look
Ugh,
down
what's
upon.
wrong with you? You
Yeah, you're looking down.
crazy?
Or you got to be really rich because you got to have a job and a half per kid in order to be able to
Right.
fund it.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty wild stuff there. Uh, I know we probably running out of time. I know I got other things that I could be able to bring up, but I think that'd be maybe for another time.
All right.
So
Well, we can look at trying to do some another time. But so, well, let me close this out in a little piece of prayer, and then hang on when we cut it off for a second.
all right.
Lord, we just praise you and thank you for this opportunity to talk to my son, him, talk to me, and we don't. We pray that this conversation will help other men, godly men, some millennials and some boomers. Maybe them and their dad can talk, or some other folks. And we just hope it helps somebody some kind of way. But in all we do and all we say, we want to give you glory and praise. So we thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
All right.